Will do.
Okay,
Have a good meeting.
great. Thanks,
Have a good
Karen.
meeting, guys. Yep, talk to you soon.
Great, thank you. Hey, Omar, are you in?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about the
Excellent,
late.
excellent. Great, thanks. Okay, it's 6:07 p.m. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Paternak. I am the chair of this year's nominating committee. With me are my other colleagues on the nominating committee, Margaret Della, Omar Murray, Steve Fruit, and Stephen Vasquez. Welcome to any other folks who are with us tonight. And we'll get right to business. Just as a recap, where we are right now, we have sent out an initial notice to all officers and chairs asking for their intention of whether or not they were seeking renomination for their positions. We received word back from all of those individuals, and we learned that 3 committees or chairs of 3 committees will not be seeking renomination. Those are the Aging Committee, the Environment and Sanitation Committee, and the Housing Committee. We thereafter sent out an email to all of our board members. We informed them of which committee chairs and officers were seeking renomination. We let them know which committees were not. And then we asked all board members to alert the nominating committee or notify the nominating committee before yesterday, May 4th, as to whether or not they had any interest in running for any position on the board. We reiterated that all positions, all officer and chair positions are considered open and vacant each year. Based upon those responses, or based upon that email, we did receive a response from one board member who would like to also run for Traffic and Transportation Committee. That was Kelly Buford. We had sent the notice. I believe all committee members received that notice. In addition, this morning we received a notification from Camelia Tepelis stating that she would like to be considered for the Environment and Sanitation Committee chair position. Now, it was after our deadline, and I guess we can have a conversation about that briefly, but what it does do as well is it leaves 2 other committees which we don't have any individuals seeking nomination for. Those committees being the Aging Committee and the Housing Committee. And I guess maybe we can start the conversation about what we think should be done right now. Essentially as far as, getting more folks involved to maybe apply for those committees. So I open it up to the floor to the nominating committee if anyone has any thoughts on our current status.
Although, I'm sorry.
Yeah, please, Steve, yeah.
Although everybody was notified, as you indicated, of which positions the incumbent was not seeking re-election. It might be helpful if people also got the results of the May 4th deadline notifications as almost a reminder, that information plus what you've already broadcast.
Yeah.
As kind of like okay, guys, this is the situation. If anybody was kind of not sure or wanted to see and I can understand that. I mean,
Yep.
it's human nature. So I think that would give people kind of another look. And so with regard to, I think, as you mentioned, there are 2 committees that are, as to which there have been no indications, expressions of interest. I think there are different ways to word the announcement, maybe a recap plus a separate sentence that says there are now, at this moment, no one has notified the committee. And so that's one thought I have, which that would be completely just beating the bush in the sense of just putting it out there.
I would go along with that. And I think it's a good idea. And again, for me, I think for us, we would be serving the board well if we do come up with a complete slate of folks and, give them one more opportunity to say, yes, I'm interested in this position. Margaret, Stephen, Omar, do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Not really. Just notify them of where we stand and what we have and what we don't have, and see maybe so, because sometimes people maybe sitting down and saying, oh, if they have to face competition, then they don't want. But maybe if we were to send out a report, then they would see that it's open.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So when would our next deadline be for something like this? May 8th, the day before our next meetup?
We could certainly do that. I think, that should be enough time for folks to get that reminder and put it in. Our next meeting being May 9th, which we had scheduled for interviews. But yeah, I mean, I would be okay with the May 8th date. Margaret, where
I
do
think
you
that's
stand?
fine.
Yeah, are you okay with
I'm
giving
fine with
another?
that. Yeah.
Okay.
And who typically, like, if there are folks on the respective committees, do we want to reach out to them and see if there's any interest?
Yeah. I mean, if any nominating committee members feel that there's folks out there who you think would be good, please reach out to them. Please, solicit, please solicit folks to get involved. Absolutely. I mean, for me, the more folks getting engaged, the more folks wanting to do it, even if they're not eventually selected, I think is good. It's a good conversation and it's a way to see who's interested in stepping up and doing more on the board. So absolutely 1000%. Let's solicit folks if you know of people who you think would be good.
I think that there's probably been in the past, and I can't remember when, and it may not have been in my era, but where the nominating committee actually, kind of took it upon itself to think in terms of a little recruitment. Now, maybe there was a more obvious, maybe there was somebody who'd been on the committee X where there was nobody seeking the chairmanship, the chair position, and it's somebody who'd been on the committee for like 7 years or something, and they really knew the ropes. Again, it's very common for people to become chairs of committees they haven't been members of, so I don't mean at all to discourage that, but sometimes that is a nod in the direction, a tip off.
Mhm.
So one thing that we could conceivably do is if anybody who's at the meeting, I should have thought of this before, has access to anything remotely current in terms of a membership list for the different committees, because the board
Yeah.
does do that. They have some sort of a breakdown. We could all take a quick look at it and see if
Yeah.
there are any people who, have been on the board for a while and,
No, I think that's a good idea. I could see if I could find it in email, the new board membership list, and see if I can pull that up.
I think I have kind of an old one.
An old one, yeah. I know that they circulate each year the committee list.
I have a list of 21 to 22, so this may be it.
Yeah, perfect. That's the one.
Yeah, the bad news is that I don't know how to screen share. I can scan it while we're doing other business if you tell
Okay.
me how to do it. That's all I know. I can scan it and
That works.
save it, but I don't know how to load it. Maybe I can
Oh.
send it to you.
Yeah, you can do that too, and I'll just share screen here.
I mean, of course, it was sent out at some point, but I don't know, when I got it. So
Yeah. Just see if I can do a quick scroll too. Let's see. Updated letterhead and committee list. Let's see if this is. Yeah, okay, so I've got something here. I think this is current 21 to 22. All right, let's see if that could work. All right. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Oh, great. You don't need me. Okay.
Okay,
yep, I can see
perfect.
it.
I wouldn't say that, but yes, here we go. So we've got, yeah. Obviously some members are no longer here. We did have some folks fall off this year. But, just kind of going down the list here.
Is Lisa Had she been the chair of the housing, aging committee?
Yes.
She had been.
was. Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Before she was secretary of the board, she was. chair.
Okay. Housing, it looks like no one from that. Unless Julie might be interested.
Mhm. I think it would be worth reaching out.
Yep, yep, yep. So let me just get in here. I'm gonna go look out. So I've actually, I've reached out to both Lisa Daub and Julie and asked if they were interested. Both had stated, that at this time they weren't. Lisa, did say, she would wait and see what would happen at the end of the year. But I both stated to me that they weren't interested at this time in applying. I don't think it would hurt if other members did want to reach out to them and ask them to apply.
Dan, did you ask after May 4th or before?
Before May 4th, I asked. So now that May 4th is here and nobody's taken the roles, maybe, they would be inclined to take on a position. And I'm just kind of scrolling down here and looking at members that might be, I'm looking at the Economic Development Committee, and of the members there that are not currently in a role, perhaps Moses Asema might be interested in moving to a chair position.
Yeah, I
Also,
was just looking at his LinkedIn profile.
mhm,
to see if he might be
stalking him
compelled.
a little bit.
Yeah.
I also see Constance Barnes Watson on the ED. Committee. And scrolling down.
What about Rob Kaplan from Public Safety? I know, I'm in the Public Safety Committee, and he's very heavily engaged there. A lot of connections with religious institutions.
Mhm.
Maybe his experience could be beneficial to the Housing Committee.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest some other members reach out to Bob as well.
Yeah, his name did, I did think about how he seems to be involved in more than one committee. I know he's been on the health
Yeah.
committee. Yeah.
I thought he would be, a good chair as well, somebody to step up. I don't believe he was interested in the committees that were available at this time, but I think other members reaching out to him would be good as well.
Myra Joyce has played a number of different roles, at the board. I think she has declined this sort of thing in the past, but I think it's probably worth reaching out. I never,
I think it's
sometimes
a good idea. Yeah.
there's some cultures where you get answered on the third try or something.
Yeah. And look, Myra has served as the vice chair, and other different committees she's served on. I think she'd be great as well. And maybe she would want to step up to one of these committees. I'm just looking to see if we've missed anyone that we could possibly reach out to as well.
Has Sergio ever served in a chair capacity in the past?
Yep, for many years.
Economic development for a while, and now he's the chair of the Veterans Committee, but that may be a special committee.
Mhm.
That's a special.
Yep.
So he could.
Sergio could definitely do it as well. Yep. Do you guys need me to scroll down on this list at all? On ENS right now, I believe Courtney had left the board. I should know this, but did Osvaldi leave the board as well? Was that one of the names that they had mentioned last month?
I don't know.
Certainly follow up on that as well, but ENS, as far as current members, ENS, actually, we do have somebody stepping up for it, so.
I mean, there are definitely a couple of people I haven't worked with, so I don't really have.
Yeah.
Then apologies to step in. I will step out right away, but just to
Please.
confirm that Oswali from March 31st, he's no longer a member. I checked
did.
that was in writing.
Thank you, I appreciate that, Camelia, thank you.
And
And
Stephen,
then,
yeah, Stephen, you're not disqualified because.
I know. Stephen and Margaret, right on our nominating committee.
Yeah, when you said that about Sergio, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, so Stephen and Margaret, 2 open committees.
Actually, Margaret,
Steven,
I was mistaken. I thought, Margaret, that you were actually currently chair of the Special Committee on Racial Equity, but I see now that you're not, so.
no, I am,
You are, yeah.
Oh,
but it's
oh,
a special committee.
this is out of,
It's out of date.
oh, okay.
It was Jill Towns.
Right, I got it reversed. Okay, I
Yep.
thought, got it. Okay, yep.
Yeah, Steven, which one are you throwing your hat in the ring for? No pressure.
Yeah.
Me or Stephen for
Well, all
You-
3 of you guys.
Well,
Yeah, true.
I'm retired.
That will be my bit in about 2 months. I will be retired from chair as well. Oh. So yeah, look, we're putting you on the spot, but think about it. Certainly think about it. You'll have a few days right now through May 8th. And we have 2 committees where nobody's put their name into. So, based upon this conversation, I think we have a group of names here where, look, if the individual members would like to reach out to any of these board members, if you believe that they would be good for any of the committees, any committee, please reach out to them. The names that we just one more roll through.
I can reach out to Myra, just because
That'd be great.
I've worked with her on projects.
Yep.
Do we want to sort of divide up if people?
Sure. Absolutely.
We
We
have
have-
4 names.
Well, I have a few more names. You guys can tell me if I'm missing or if I've got more. I've got Lisa, Julie, Moses, Constance, Myra, Sergio. Did I
I'm
miss
sorry,
anybody?
I had not listed Lisa and Julie because I thought you were saying.
I did, but if any folks want to reach out, you certainly can. But then there's Moses, Constance, Myra, Sergio. So Steve's going to reach out to Myra Joyce. Margaret, do you want to take one of those 4?
Yeah, whoever
You tell me.
makes sense. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't
Okay,
matter. So if
Steven,
anyone
anybody?
else, it's easier for them.
Yeah. Steve Vasquez, anybody in particular you want to reach out to?
I can reach out to the captain, Bob Captain.
Great.
Oh yeah, I forgot him.
I
too.
can reach out to Lisa as well, Dan, so it's not you again.
Great. Yeah, no, that would be great. Okay. I'll reach out to Sergio, see if he's interested. And then
Yeah,
Mark, you wanna
whoever's
do
left.
Moses? Yeah. do you
Sure,
wanna
I'll reach out
take
to
care of
Moses. Sure.
Okay, excellent. All right, so we go from there. I'll ask the board to put out that email tomorrow asking folks to, reconsider that there are 2 committees that nobody has sought nomination for, and where we're at right now.
Yeah,
And
as
then-
soon as they can get that out, the better, because it's a pretty short window. It's
Yep.
going to be Friday before the weekend, and we're asking people to let us know by Sunday. Is
Yep.
the 9th Monday?
Sunday at midnight, unless we say Monday at 9 AM
Uh,
or Monday at noon. We could do that as well. Maybe I'll do Monday at noon. That way they have the morning of Monday. Okay. All right, so that's where we are as far as filling spots. We do have the 9th set up as an interview date. So I guess in just getting to it right now, I'll state, so, you know, and we have a decision to make as far as current chairs. And the first decision is whether or not we want current chairs who are not being, I guess, challenged at this point, whether or not we want to call them in, you know, for an interview and have a conversation with them or not. To date, I've received emails from Bob Bender, who asked if he could come in, if we asked him to come in on the 19th at 5:30. Chuck Merdler asked if he could come in also, I believe, on the 19th. In addition, I think those are the current chairs that had asked for a date. I don't think I missed anybody. I think those were the only two current chairs who asked for a date so far. So it's whether or not we want to bring in folks who are not being challenged. The other thing that we do know right now is that we do have one committee member, Camelia Teplis, who is seeking nomination for the position of E&S chair, and whether or not we want to set an interview date for that now. We also know that Kelly Buford is seeking position of traffic chair. She asked for a date of May 9th, or May 9th. And, you know, based upon this, we should reach out to the current chair of the traffic committee and ask if she should be coming in for an interview, but we should ask which date she would like to come in. And she can come in on either date, whichever, you know, she's more comfortable with, and we can get that email out this evening.
She wouldn't necessarily know that there are two candidates for that.
Not until, if she's watching the meeting now, then she would know, yeah. So she won't know until we reach out to her and say that there is another candidate for that committee chair position. We'd like her to come in for an interview. We have May 9 and May 19 available.
Right.
So I guess the big question is whether or not we want to ask any current chairs. You know what, I shouldn't say that. I believe on the initial renomination, there might be some folks who did state that they would come in for an interview. Like if we requested them. So the thing with our committee is, do we want to ask committee chairs who are not being challenged, so to speak, to come in for an interview? And, you know, I open it up to the members to see what you guys think.
Yeah, I mean, another way to look at it. I'm sorry. I think there's some sort of weird
Yeah, there was a
mic thing.
echo there.
What I was going to say is that, I mean, you could look at it just where there are positions as to which, you know, there are two people seeking the committee's recommendation as opposed to a challenge, you know, that's just a wording thing. But anyway,
Yep.
I think-
Understood. Yep.
I think
Yep. Better way.
I think it may even be in the ethical guidance manual that we would expect to interview people where there are two people for one position and where there's a person who's never held a position before. So
Yep.
that would apply to Camelia as well for environment and sanitation.
Yep. So what I can do is I'll shoot an email to the current traffic chair right now, well, right after this meeting, and ask for a date. We do have one candidate for the traffic committee seeking May 9th at 5:30 p.m. If we could do the same night, you know, that would probably be even better to see folks, you know, back to back. I'll see if that's possible. I don't remember. Let me check Camelia's email to see if she had a date.
I think she did.
Yep. Let's see. Okay. Yes, May 9th. So how long did we want to schedule for these interviews? Did we say a half hour between? So that way we had a little bit of time to talk?
I said that, but that's just, it could be. I know that in the past, like last year, they were scheduled in 20-minute increments. I don't know if we
Yep.
stuck to it, but it also depends on how many people.
How many people we have? Okay. So, all right, so right now we have 2 candidates for that evening.
Yeah, Dan, can I ask a question? I didn't see Chuck's email about coming in.
Oh, yeah, let me see if I
And
can find it.
Bob's was, and I may have missed it, but it's not even important, but it's just informational.
Yep.
Those guys are both old school in the sense that they've been on the board a long time. And I know when I started, everybody was expected to come in. That was just the way it was. I'm not arguing in favor of that. We've had those discussions in past years.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to come in and explain what their plans are for the next year, that kind of thing, I think it should be encouraged.
Yeah.
But if Bob and Chuck are not, I know Chuck came in 2 years ago and we were sort of
Yep.
proceeding in that way. But if Bob and Chuck are not in that mode, but rather they want to be, I'm ready, willing, and able kind of
Yep.
thing, if you want me in, I just think if we could clarify that.
Yeah,
Because,
okay.
in both cases, given the positions that they're seeking renomination for, I don't think they necessarily need, but that's just my personal view.
Okay. Margaret, Stephen, do you guys have any views on that? Omar? Do you want to bring in some of these chairs? Should I ask them if they would like to come in and see the committee and leave it up to them? Whether or not they want to discuss. Whether.
Yeah, sure. You should give them a choice. As Steve said, it's in usually what we do in the past is if you're not being challenged or you're new to a position, then if you're not being challenged, then why come in?
Okay.
But if you're new, then so I think you should give the current chairs a choice if they're not being challenged, whether they want to come in or not. So yeah.
There's one other thing that we did 2 years ago. That was when a chair was either very new, like they had taken the position in the middle of the year kind of thing, because there was a vacancy. We did, I think, in 1 or 2 cases, invite that chair in. If there were not 2 candidates for that position.
Yep.
Almost as kind of like an opportunity.
Real interview. Yeah.
Well, an opportunity, like I used it early on when I became a chair of a committee to really think about, well, what does next year look like? And I did that multiple times. And especially for someone who's taken on the role in the middle of the year and hasn't gone through the nominating committee before, I just throw that out. I mean, I don't know, I can't tell from this list how many of those people there are.
I think just our treasurer, right? I don't know if there were any other special elections this year.
I was thinking more of the officers, committee chairs, but yeah, I guess it would apply to officers as well. Is Ted Morris in his second? No, that's an open committee. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Agree.
I think the only election that we had in the middle of the year was just for the officer position of treasurer.
Got it.
I don't think there was anyone else. I mean, we could ask Joy.
For standing committee, right? For standing committee, yeah.
Yeah, we could ask Joy if she would like to come in and have a discussion with us.
Okay.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Good with that.
What I'll do is I'll scroll through the original nominations again from our first notice, and I'll see if anybody else mentioned in there that they would like to come in or not. And if they specifically mentioned in that renomination notice, then I'll reach out to them and ask them if they want to have a discussion, if there's anything that they would really like to convey to the nominating committee. And if not, then is there anybody else who's I don't see anybody else who would be a first or second. Yeah, no. Oh, wait, actually there is one more. I apologize. And wait, let me think about this. Did we have a special election for parks this year? Or am I making that up? Or was Ramdat in the one from last year? I don't remember when Rosemary stepped down. I've got to go back and look.
But it would be in the material from last year.
If he had stepped up last year, but for some reason, I think that might have been a special election this year. Let me see if I could find that.
I think I got it. No, Rosemary was recommended by the nominating committee last year.
Okay,
So by definition, right?
yep. So then I guess we would have one more. We would ask Ramdat to come in as well.
Right.
Okay,
Does that apply to special committees?
no.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, you're gonna lose me one way or the other.
But we do have plenty of regular committees that you can come in for. Okay, there's Omar. We lost him. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's our plan for interviews, and I'll try to get that information out to everybody as soon as possible. And I'll include you guys on the email to the individual members when I'm asking for their dates and availability.
So Dan, are you going to set a schedule for the?
Yeah, so right
the
now,
ninth?
May 9, we've got, it's gonna be, we have traffic and transportation, Kelly Buford. We would have environment and sanitation, Camelia Tepelis, which I guess we just need a time from Camelia. Right now, Kelly had asked for 5:30. We do have 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. available as well. Wait, no, I'm sorry, that's not accurate because we only have until, I don't remember if we had more time or not that night, but we would have 6 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. available. I'll reach out to Bob Bender, see if there's anything pressing that he wants to convey to the committee. I'll do the same of Chuck Merler, see if there's anything pressing that he needs to convey to the committee. I'll reach out to Ramdat and I'll reach out to Joy as well.
Yeah, and I mean, my view would be that just what you said about Bob Bender and Chuck Merdler and anyone else that you review their notice and see that they were offering.
Yep.
But I think with Joy and Ramdat, say that there's been it's not a requirement, but we've done that at least recent past. We've interviewed people who were relatively new to their positions, haven't gone through the committee before.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
It's not a gigantic precedent. It happened just, a couple of years ago.
No, I think it's good, especially if it was a special, I think it's a good idea. Okay, so that would be the interview schedule. We'll get the notice out. I think that's really about it, except for, are there any other items of business before we go to the committee minutes? Oh, there is actually. Well, let's do the committee minutes and then I'll come back to the questions, the interview questions. Because that's probably going to take a little more time. Did everyone receive the minutes that we had put out? I'm going to put them on the screen so that way everyone can see them as well. And I know Steve, you had recommended a few changes, which I think I started making already. Can everyone see the share?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yep,
So,
good to hear.
I've got the committee attendance up top. I did make a change in the very first sentence. Thanks, Steve. And I simply put the meeting was called to order at 6:05. The very next, on number 1, I did make a change as well. I'll make another one right now. The members of the nominating committee introduced themselves to each other in the public. The members present were, and I just put our names once again that we introduced ourselves. We presented the following report of the notifications of the officers seeking renomination, simply committee and officer positions with the yes or a no. Our next steps, which was really notification, we'll send out an email asking board members seeking nomination to let us know by May 4. I'll include a report of the notifications we just stated and a statement that all officer and chair committee positions are considered open, available for nominations. And then we'll formulate questions for interviews of candidates and review at today's meeting. We have our meeting dates. And then we have the approval of the minutes. So does anybody have any changes? Did I make any other mistakes? Anything
I
else that
don't
we should
have
include in here? Okay, so can we get a motion to approve the minutes for April 20th?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Great. Thank you. Omar, you good with the minutes? Did we lose Omar? Oh, okay. All right, so we'll get those off. So we have the minutes for that. And my intention is to attach the minutes to our final report at the end that we submit on June 15. Okay, so the next item, and I'm going to share screen again. These are proposed interview questions, just so that we have a few standard questions to present to the members as they come, or the candidates as they come in. And is that, nope, that's not the right one. Let me get rid of this, minutes, save, close, here we go. Okay, can everyone see the questions?
Yep.
Yeah, I can see it.
Excellent. So first, I'd like to thank Steve. Steve, this was most of this, 90% of this were questions from 2020. And I had just, added, I think, maybe 2 questions to it. And I'll go one by one, and just so you guys, we'll have a discussion and then we'll go through it and figure out how we want to use these, if we want to use these. So for committee chairs, these are all possible questions that we could ask candidates for a baseline. That's please describe the work and accomplishments of the committee since June 2021, which is this particular term that they're in. For a new committee chair, please describe your past participation in the work of the board, including but not limited to the work and accomplishments of any board committees of which you've been a member, and an experience you have that would make an effective chair of its committee. Now, there was previously in the first question also that you've been a chair of. I took that out of just to kind of make it a little bit broader, anything of which you've been a member. For incumbent or new committee chair, please describe, if elected, your plans for the work and new initiatives the committee might undertake in the coming year. For an incumbent or new committee chair, please describe your views on the role of a committee chair in running a meeting. It's been the topic of a lot of conversation lately, so I thought it would be an important question to ask. And then for an incumbent or new committee chair, please tell us why you want to be a committee chair. For officers, for an incumbent officer, please describe the contributions you have made to the board as officer since June 2021. For a new officer, please describe your past participation in the work of the board, including not limited to the work and accomplishments of any board committees you have chaired. I should have eliminated that too, that you have been a member, or any experience that would make you an effective role in the position of such and such. For incumbent or new officer, please describe how, if elected, you would best fulfill the responsibilities of this position in the coming year, including your vision for the role of, whichever role. For incumbent or new officer, please describe your views on transparency with respect to the distribution of information and decision-making process of the officers. Another issue which has been coming up that we've received a number of information and such, which I guess could be either chair or officer, but it's just another question that we do. And then please tell us why you want to be an officer. So those are some questions we can eliminate, we can keep all, we can add some more, and I open it up to the committee for discussion.
For that last one, Dan, I would substitute the word officer for position, that
Okay.
very last word.
Okay.
Because people who would be coming in for an officer position, would be in for treasurer or vice chair, or, it would be different. Let's see.
And, in the interview itself, we could choose to ask some of these to every candidate. We could choose, to kind of mix and match. It's up to the committee, however we choose to use this list. It's only meant to aid us and to kind of get the conversation started, and in some respects, keep, some uniformity within the different candidates. And again, I'm open to however the committee feels that we should use these questions, if we use them at all.
I think that they provide an anchor, and it shouldn't limit people to ask anything that comes up, because, everybody knows from an interview that some things just,
They flow.
one answer leads to a new question. But I think it would be, good to ask almost everybody, the first and second question kind of thing. It
Mhm.
seems like it would be fair.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I like all these questions. I think, they're pretty straightforward, but allow for people to take them as they wish. Yeah, so I think they're very good.
Okay.
Dan, last year, there were other questions last year. I prefer
Oh.
but the last year there was a question, and I'm not going to say it in an articulate way, but it was there was a question having to do with what are your views, or what would be your plans with respect to motivating either members of the board or members of the committee, depending on whether it was an officer's position or a committee position, to become more involved with the board, take on more responsibility, sort of prepare people to take on leadership roles. That sort of question came up, and another question that came up was something along the lines of, what efforts would you make to basically in the area of diversity, but where diversity included not just racial and ethnic diversity, but also geographic diversity in terms of the different neighborhoods of the board, that make up the board, that kind of thing.
Okay. So is it more of an outreach thing, or is it more of a internal?
Well, I think it could be anything. For example, one thing that was always kind of a big deal was to try to, and I don't know that it's possible now, but for a while there was a real effort to move meetings around.
Yep.
The board office was too small for many meetings, and so you had to be somewhere else anyway. And I remember spending a lot of time trying to literally go every other neighborhood, kind of, all around the place. And so that was a way, because there were definitely people who attended a meeting in X neighborhood who wouldn't come to a meeting if we're in a different neighborhood. And that was a good outreach, but that was merely geographic / neighborhood. And I don't, that's just one example.
And I don't know if I'm writing this correctly. So in the entire community board district, and I don't know if this reflects, or if we can make some changes, but what efforts would you make to diversify? No, to diversify the
You say
inclusion.
to attract to attract or include a diverse representatives of
Representation.
Community District 8.
The wording is already in the guidelines, in the handbook.
You mean for our work, you mean, Marty?
Ethical guidance manual lays out exactly the phraseology, thanks to Judge Friedlander.
Okay, we could certainly take a look and see if we could borrow that language from there as well, the one that's read at the the full board meeting, and see if that lends itself to this question as well.
I mean, in terms of, this sort of leads to the intent to make that. I appreciate that we will use the language from the guidelines on what we mean by diverse representation. But I think this goes to actual implementation of the intent.
Mhm. Okay. And this, I think we can ask for from everyone, basically officers and committee chairs. Okay, do we have any other questions that we would like to ask? And again, that we're not limited by this, it's a start. And anything that comes up at the meeting, anything that comes up between now and then, please feel free to jot down and ask a candidate. This is really just meant to aid us and kind of move the conversation along.
Yeah, there's that. I wouldn't necessarily take all the wording from the EGM, but there's definitely, just to read it real quick.
Mhm.
Diversity in geographic areas within the board, communities, ethnic and racial groups, professional, work backgrounds and ages is just one. I mean, there's some good terms in there.
Gotcha, okay. You can
Thanks.
certainly do a copy paste and basically shift it back to what efforts this individual would make to attract.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so I think we can move on from there. Let me just save this, stop share. Okay. So I think that's it for the business of this meeting, unless any other folks have any other items that they would like to raise or think we should discuss.
I would just, we should be aware that depending on how many people want to be interviewed, we might need at the very next meeting to decide to add a meeting.
Yep.
Because we'll have, our next meeting after the 9th is the 19th, is that right?
Yes, 9th and 19th.
Right, so that means we could add a meeting before the 19th, we could add a meeting after the 19th, as long as it's 10 days away. I guess not before the 19th, so that's right, yeah.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Actually, let me go, Stephen Vasquez, did you have, I'm sorry, you mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, you might have a question that you wanted to add. Was it included in there? Is there something that?
Yeah.
did I miss that?
I mean, I don't know if it's something that could be asked for every committee chair. Probably geared to Lisa Spalter, the chair of the board, if she decides to come in and be interviewed by us, and maybe the chair of the youth committee. But it's just something revolving around increasing or finding ways to increase participation from a more younger crowd. Just ways of trying to gauge interest from a much younger crowd, high school people, folks entering college, trying to increase civic participation within that demographic.
Okay. Gotcha. I think we can ask all of our chairs that question. And I'm just typing it on there, even though I'm not screen sharing, I am adding it onto the list.
I mean, we do get a monthly email about basically code of conduct of board members as it relates to running for office or engaging with elected officials or in the meetings, et cetera, et cetera. There are things that we want to ask about codes of conduct that we want to ask. And there's always sort of like this specific email that tends to go out every other month or so.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you could think like in terms of a question, a way to frame it?
Will you abide by the ethical conduct guidelines?
There you go. Right to it. Done. Save. Okay. Okay. All right. Any other items of business? Any other complaints, suggestions, queries? Now is your time. Okay, so I'm going to get to work on some of these emails. We all have phone calls to make to folks to see if they have any interest in serving the community board in these leadership positions. And yeah, we'll see everybody Monday evening at 5:30 p.m. and have a good weekend.
Right, thank you all. And
Thank you.
anyone who wishes to
Thank
stay
you.
on for scree in 2 minutes, please do.
Oh.
What's that?
All right, take care. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Have a good night.
Wait,